Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
That put me in the mood for a Wonka bar. You know, really. Chocolate is one of my things, you know, and I am really, really happy that I am a minister in unity because I don't have to give up anything during Lent, you know. So, and that might end up on a list of things I could possibly, you know, give up during the Lenten period, but I don't have to give up anything except my feeling, my belief, my occasional, you know, idea that I'm separate from God. That is something I work every day on. I know that sometimes we think this life is happening to us, you know, the little things that are going on. And this is really making my life difficult. But it's not happening to me, it's happening through me. And as Eric Butterworth says, it's not so much what happens to us, it is how we respond to it, which brings it from that to thing to the through thing. Anyway, I appreciate you guys being here, and thanks for the setup on that, the imagination setup, you know, because we're in Lenten season, and what we're doing in this space during this period of time is releasing and reimagining. Now, I hope you guys got your booklets. Did you get your booklets? Yeah. So the theme is release and reimagine. So we're going to be doing a little bit of both of those things today. And I really like the idea that we get to reimagine our life if we like, if we want to. What we have to do from time to time, though, is release the old thinking so that we make room for the new. And the way I put that is the space for what you want is being taken up by what you're settling for. So in order to get something more out of this thing that we're doing, this thing called life, sometimes you have to release some of those things you're settling for. And that takes a little bit of analysis as to you know, maybe even a priority setting for you. But we settle for things. And in order to get that grand newness we want, and sometimes that comes from a reimagining of what our life could look like, we have to release first. So we're going to be doing stuff like that, but I think that we always need visuals to work our way through these kinds of things. I know that I do. I need some ways to view things, to see them unfolding in my life, or to see how it's done through story. So I'll start with this. I like American Idol. Do you guys like American Idol? Some of you it's probably not popular to like it, you know, because oh man, kids like it, and you know, I'm not a kid anymore. And I like American Idol. I really do. I like to watch these, you know, aspiring artists step into something new for them, to imagine their lives as being something more than they are in the current form. And usually they go into the stories for the participants. You know, they talk about what town they're from, and oftentimes there are more cows in the town than there are people. You know, I mean, it's that kind of a small situation, and some people sing to the animals, and they're the only people that have ever heard them sing, or the trees out somewhere in the forest. You know, they're quite heartwarming stories. They really, really are. So last season, there was this guy that really started to stand out, and he ended up winning. His name was Jamal Roberts. If you watched the show, you would know what I'm talking about here. But he found himself, I think, kind of rocketing to the forefront of the competition when he did this song called Heal. And if you haven't heard Jamal Roberts do Heal, sometime take a look at it on YouTube. It is something to behold. It's something I hadn't seen on American Idol before. I mean, it caused the audience there to react in a way that was unusual. So he put together this song that was so heartfelt, so beautifully felt by him. each aspect of it, you could tell he not only believed it, but he wanted it for you too. He wanted it for everyone in the audience. And when he was finished with that song, complete dead silence. There was no clapping. It was as if they didn't even know he was finished with the song, as if maybe he'd forgotten the words and just stopped singing because he didn't know what to do next. But he had finished the song, and there was complete and total silence. And when they realized that, it was an uproarious standing ovation that wouldn't stop. People were thrilled. And so there were lots of opportunities after that song for him to be interviewed by people who interview around such things and write stories about them. And he was asked this question: how did you do that? How did you bring such a heartfelt message to everybody listening and make us believe it? How did you make us believe that this was you giving something to us, a healing to us? And he said, so simply, he said, I know that my job in the moment was to get inside the song. To get inside the song, to feel it deeply within myself and let everybody know what that song was about through my emotions, through the way I presented it, to get inside the song. Jackie and I were sitting next to each other, and we kind of looked at each other like, whoa, wow. I mean, we both said, wow. What a way to explain that. My job is to get inside the song. And so when I was thinking about reimagining something in my life and maybe in the lives of others, I started thinking about Jamal and what he did with that song and what he tries to do with every single song. And I said, you know what? I'm talking to myself now. You know what, Greg? Maybe my job is to get inside of life, is to see it like Jamal saw the song. For me to get inside of life itself, to live it in such a way as that I'm a part of every single aspect of it, that I feel that life is flowing around me and through me and as me, and I'm not just separate from it, watching it happening, but I am inside of it. Can you feel that? When I say getting inside of life, like he got inside of that song. And then I started thinking about Lent and Jesus, because, you know, this whole Lenten period of time makes us think about Jesus and the story. And you know how much I like the story. I mean, I think it's a metaphor for everything that goes on in our lives, for the release and for the newness and for the imagining and all of the things that are happening in that story, you know, from love to betrayal to sacrifice to the beauty of relationship. I mean, it's just amazing. And I thought, you know, I think Jesus viewed himself as having the task of getting inside of life and actually living it. You know, he was incredibly honest about some of the things he said, and people did not like the way he expressed himself around life and what his role in it was, what he saw his role as. And, you know, I wrote some things down in the book of Greg that I really like about this. And you know, conversations around Jesus that show up in the Bible all sound like this. He can't do that. Who does he think he is? You know? Who does this guy think he is? He's going to kill himself. He's going to make people kill him. He's going to step on a lot of toes with what he says he is and what he's calling himself and how he is stepping into life and pointing out some of the oppression, some of the ways that people are being marginalized. You know, taking action that a rabbi shouldn't take, that somebody who's supposed to know the law and follow the law, which is what is written, and doesn't do it. I mean, who does he think he is? Who does he think he is? And a lot of that was said, I think, when Jesus, this is in John 7 and 8, and you probably know the story, but you might not have known where to find it. But in John 7 and 8, it talks about the Feast of the Tabernacles, which is a special feast that happened in the wintertime just on the hillside of Jerusalem. And it was an opportunity for people to get together and pray for rain, because they needed the rain so that they could start the process of growing their crops in the springtime and then harvesting. And so without the rain, you're not going to have any crops to harvest. So they're hard at work in prayer and celebration. So they're not only feasting, but they're drinking a lot too. Drinking a lot of wine, and they're partying. This is like it's like any religious conference, I guess. Oh, we're not supposed to do that, but that's what we're doing. So all this is happening, and Jesus finds himself there. He wasn't going to go, but he decided to go after being prodded by some of the disciples, some of the people he was hanging with, so that he could give a message to a large crowd. So he decided to go. And while he was there, he just could not help himself. You know, what he was seeing and what was going on, and the way people were, acting and reacting to, the prayer and the people and the whole situation itself. He just could not hold himself back, and he got up on a stage type setting and he said, "If anyone here is thirsty, come drink of what I have to offer. Come drink of the water of life. I can give that to you." And oh my goodness, were people upset about that. I mean, who does he think he is? Who's he think he is? In fact, there was so much of that going on that the very next day he was out teaching on a hillside, a lot of people who really wanted to hear his message. And some of they're called lawyers. They're the bringers and the people who understand the law, which was then the Torah. And of course the Talmud was there too, but the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible and a little bit more, is what was typically being taught when they were teaching. And so while Jesus was there, they brought a woman to him and said, "Hey, we caught this woman in the act of adultery, and the law says that we are to stone her. What do you say, teacher?" I mean, this is all kind of like, they're really, the feeling you get when you read John 7 and 8 is that a lot of this is sarcastic. They're looking at him like, yeah, what are you going to do about this now? We're testing you. And Jesus understood that he was being tested as well. And this is the part that you probably heard before, that he didn't say a word. He bent down and he started writing in the dust, in the dirt around him. We don't know what he wrote. We do know that this is the only time he really wrote anything down, but he wrote something in the dust. And then he looked up, and people who had rocks in their hands to stone this woman started to drop them. And he said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." You've heard that before. I mean, that's a very, very popular line. And it does make some sense, and it makes some great sense in this arena. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And people started dropping their stones, and they all wandered away. They left. But it was clear that this man was going to die, because you don't violate the law like that, and you don't make those lawyers or Pharisees or the people that were there who were teaching the law look bad like that and expect to get away with it. So, I mean, you can sort of feel what's going to happen as a result of this. But I sat down and started writing around that, and I came up with some ideas around what someone capable of stepping into a situation like that and attempting to dismantle an oppressive circumstance, which that was. I mean, what an oppressive circumstance. I mean, they didn't bring the dude. They didn't bring the guy. They didn't say we're supposed to stone the adulterers. They brought her. And who knows what he wrote in the dust? He might have written, "Where's the dude?" I don't know. Who knows? Or isn't he at fault? Or who knows what he wrote? We do not know what he wrote. But this was certainly an oppressive situation, something that has no justice attached to it, has no fairness, has no real understanding of how life unfolds. I mean, all this wine, all these tents, how do you know you're in the right one, you know? I mean, these kinds of things happen for sure. And here we are, and we have a woman who's about to be stoned, and Jesus says, we're not following that law today. We're not following that law. And I'm sure there were people out there saying, "It is written. Who does he think he is?" What's it take for a person to step in and be capable of dismantling an oppressive system? What does it take? Well, I think it takes being grounded, really grounded in reality. I think it takes being grounded in reality so that we can understand what justice really is. I think it takes some bravery, real bravery, to step into that. I think it takes compassion. Your compassionate self must come out and see what's really happening. I think it takes self-awareness. I think it takes action-oriented and hopeful conduct. I think it's as brave as it gets. I think it's living inside your life. I think it's stepping into a new law that the person has created for themselves, and I will not stand for passive complicity. I will not stand for that. Passive complicity. You know, this is you can see that this is a tricky space for teachers of the word. Because if you're not going to stand for passive complicity, then you're going to step into some things that people think are none of your business. If you're going to stand up there and say, "I don't believe there's equity and justice involved in this kind of thing here. I don't think that this is the way this ought to work. I don't think we should be hiding some things about what really happened just so that a bunch of powerful people can have a freebie. I don't think we should be doing some things that will occur again should we allow them to happen. I don't think that we should be the ones without bravery, without compassion, without self-awareness. Because if we are, then we're not really living in this life. We're just watching it happen, and we're glad it's not happening to us. I mean, this goes for all of the things that you might see that look like oppressive or suppressing certain types of behaviors. The people that are looking for a better life, the people that have a different colored skin, the people who are women instead of men, the people who are transgendered and gay, the people who have a different way of life, not like our own. They fall into that marginalized arena. And when I look at the Bible metaphysically, I see that this woman that was about to be stoned is every person. Everyone. Everyone. And what are you going to do about it? Are you just going to be passive and complicit? Or are we going to step into life and actually do something? Wow. These are big, big questions. So, I believe that if we can reimagine our lives as being the kind of people that do that thing, do that tough stuff, do those very difficult things that are, as far as I'm concerned, life-affirming, loving, caring, compassionate, empathetic, everything we're asked to be, everything Jesus showed us how to do, then we'll really be living life, not just pretending. So, remember when I promised you that we were going to talk about transformation? Is there anything more transformative than living life rather than ignoring it? Is there anything more transformative than actually doing something that means something, not just for you, but for anyone and everyone? Bringing heaven to earth. I don't think there is. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to, during your contemplative moments, during your prayer time, whatever it is that brings you in closer alignment with God, imagine yourself being in life, living within this thing called life. Imagine that. And then ask yourself, what do I have to do if I'm going to be in life? And life is in me. All right, well, this is the start of our Lenten journey, you guys. I do appreciate your time and your effort and your love for not only humanity and this life, but your fellow brothers and sisters, whoever they might be, whatever they might look like, or whatever they might do. The God in me recognizes the God in you. There's love in that statement. Please accept it, and so it is.